Kristen, and you're listening to Podcast and Amplify, a podcast for women entrepreneurs who want to amplify their voice and brand through podcasting and grow a wildly successful business. I'm the executive producer and host of 2 shows and an entrepreneur, and I love helping women grow their visibility, mindset, and business to the next level. Each week, I share tips on how to launch and leverage your podcast, and I'm bringing on the very best business leaders to give you advice on how to build your business empire. Let's amplify your voice and business. Hey, Karen, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Kristen. Thank you so much for having me here once again. Thank you.
Yeah. So for listeners who may not have caught the first time that Karen was on the show, in season 1, she came on to talk about how to gain clarity on your dreams. And I absolutely love that conversation. So I knew I just had to have her back to talk about something else, because I know that she could talk about a million things. But another topic that we landed on, which we will get in today, is how to unlock your full potential, which I think a lot of us are trying to do. And it's great to have the tools around how we can do that, where that gets us in our journeys, either as entrepreneurs or just as humans. So Karen, thank you so much for being here again. I think I'll start with reading a bit of your bio so people know how fabulous you are.
Thank you.
Okay. So Karen Williams-Thompson is a transformational life coach, trainer, and speaker who empowers businesses and individuals, especially women, to achieve their goals and live their best life to their fullest. She's also the founder of Beyond Limits Global Consultancy and creator of her signature program, Say Yes to Your Dreams, where she helps you gain clarity on your why and go from feeling stuck and overwhelmed to being overjoyed and confidently designing the life or business that you desire. And I think that's the special thing about Karen is she really empowers people, especially women, to be their best selves. And that's why I'm so excited to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Kristen. It's really my pleasure to be here again, and a very warm hello to all of your listeners.
So let's dive in and talk about what's the power behind unlocking your full potential, and maybe what are some of the challenges that people might feel when they start to do that, start to lean into unlocking their full potential.
When I started my online business, one of the things I knew that I was really passionate about is helping women say yes in their lives. And saying yes means also that you are ready to embrace that step about unlocking your full potential. A lot of times I see women who settle, and I don't think that they always settle intentionally. I think it's from a place where they want to look after everyone, put everyone else's needs before them. And then you know what? They discover, but I'm not showing up as I want to be. And we don't always make the connection between how we show up in our life and how we show up in our business and how it is connected. Dennis Waitley says that personal development is the belief that you are worth the effort, time, and energy needed to develop yourself. Personal development is the belief that you are worth the effort, time, and energy needed to develop yourself. And that really sums up in a very nice way personal development and how you can unlock your full potential. And the power behind unlocking that is that you get to show up as your authentic you. You get to show up as you want to be seen. And this is so important. This speaks to the power of self-esteem, the way you speak to yourself, the way you see yourself, the way you want others to see you. And it's about being able to walk in that path without doing the comparison. You know, sometimes we want to say, well, I'm in business, this person is in business, how come? Maybe I should be doing, and we go down that line of comparing. But each one of us is so unique. And so I call it peeling back the layers. Peeling back the layers and really discovering your fullest potential is so wow. Because it just opens you to so many other experiences. Think of it like this. It's the power of mindset. It's you saying that you are ready to face you and to accept who that person is, what those doubts are, what those fears may be. You are ready to recognize that passion that you have, that passion for your business, that passion for the life that you want to live. And that passion is then transferred to you going after your goals. And understanding your full potential and reaching for this helps you to do that. And as an executive coach, one of my biggest joys is when I see the transition of persons when they discover that and unlock that potential. I had a client and she says, oh my goodness, now I'm connecting the dots. That's the joy for me. The ability to unlock that, to see this is who I am. This is who I want to be. This is how I want to be. And I'm good with it. I am just really, really good with it. So that's a little bit about the power behind unlocking. It's freeing.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to describe it, because when you're tapping into, your authentic self and you're showing up in a way that just feels like you, that you're honoring yourself, it is freeing. And it really is about knowing that you're worth it, knowing that you're worthy of expressing yourself and living to your full potential.
Yes, it is. It's about looking in the mirror and being able to smile at the person looking back at you and saying, you know what? I love you. I really and truly love you. That is living to your full potential. That is taking ownership of all of who you are. It's being able to look in that mirror and really love that. It's about you guarding your self-talk. And like I said earlier, not focusing on the doubts or what you don't have, but really speaking that positive and affirming language to yourself. So the better that you know you, the better that you are able to show up in the best version of you. Just think of how much more you can give to others, how much more value you can add to others. It just becomes limitless. And then you empower them to be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, you're making me think of this like huge ripple effect of, if you're living in your fullest, biggest life, that you can put out such a different energy and impact others around you to do the same, either by them just watching what you do and being inspired, or being that example of, oh, that's what that looks like, and planting the seed of like, oh, maybe I can have that too. Because sometimes people don't even think it's available to them. I know, at least for me, I'm I like to see evidence of things before I really believe in them. And so just having someone like that in your life, I mean, that's just so inspiring.
It really is. I often say that it's one of the best gifts we can give ourselves, personal growth and development, because it allows us to spend that time looking within. It allows us to acknowledge and to appreciate and to really value all that we have. Because sometimes in the busyness of life, we can get caught up in being busy, but we can also get caught up in what else is going on. And we don't really take that time for introspection. We don't take that time to really pause and just to sit in it. And it is something that's really very intentional. It does not just happen. And I think that's something that I really want to mention. Growth doesn't just happen. You have to make a decision that you want this for yourself. You have to make the decision that you are important enough. You deserve this. And then you are going to invest the time, the energy, the investment, whatever it takes. You make the decision. You know what? I am worthy of this. I'm worthy of this time. Because you then know the value is going to be 10 times that.
Yeah. And you're so right that it is intentional and it's work. It's the best kind of work because you reap the rewards, which are massive, but it's not always easy to be introspective and to look at your stuff and to figure out how you can grow, how you can evolve. But it's a worthy process because you're worthy of it. And, your life, your relationships, will be impacted by it. I want to talk a little bit about, because our listeners tend to be entrepreneurs, why is it important to do personal development, personal growth, and what kind of impact can that have on growing your business?
Lovely question. I really, really like that. And I'll share with you, I was speaking with a client recently, and she had a marvelous plan for her business. And then she said, in a couple of years, I want to retire. So I said to her, but do you have a plan for your life? She said, what? A plan for my life? No, I can tell you where the business will be, what's going to happen, what acquisitions, what this. But she was clueless when it came to herself and what she wanted for herself. This is what happens. Often we are so busy building our business. We are so busy putting all of these metrics, KPIs, key performance indicators in place that we forget ourselves. And the pursuing personal growth alongside of business growth is really a recipe for success, simply in a nutshell. Imagine that as you are growing, as you are going outside of your comfort zone and you are stepping out there and you are experiencing growth, think about all then that you can actually put into your business. So there is a direct correlation behind or with your personal growth and your business growth. That's why it is important to invest in you. Now, this investment can be in different ways. The same way that you look at your business and you have a goal set for your business and you identify the gaps and this is what is needed to get there. It's a similar process with the personal growth. So you look and you can see, this is what is needed now. I need to acquire a new skill, or I need to invest in further education in something. Perhaps it is that I need to have some additional resources. All of those things add value to your business. They go hand in hand. There's not one without the other. So when you think about your personal growth, ask yourself, what is important to you? What is important and how is that connected to the business? Because there is a connection. Because I'm sure for all of the entrepreneurs who are listening, they are asking what's important to the business. They are asking themselves, what are the things that I need to do? What are the measures that I need to take that are going to move the needle in the business that's going to take me to that next level that I really want to have? Now, if you are not growing, how are you then going to be in a position to take the business where it needs to grow? So that is why that investment time of money, of educational pursuits, mental, physical well-being, all of that is important. That is as important as the business itself. The other way that you can develop your personal growth, unlock your potential, and develop your business is by having a good coach. I mentioned this because if you have the right coach in your life, that person will help you and will encourage you in your personal growth journey. Why? They're going to call you out when you are not doing the things that you should do. Not only that, apart from holding you accountable, which is very good, they're also able to see the blind spots. We can't see our blind spots because they are our blind spots. But if you have the right coach or the right mentor in your life, that person will be that for you. And as you then keep leveling up, going to the next level and the next level, your business is going with you. So the two are intricately woven together. They really are.
They so are. I 100% agree. I think that, the entrepreneurial path, it is such an opportunity for personal growth. And I guess it's not just an opportunity, it's like a must. Like you're saying, they are intertwined. And your business is only going to go as far as, I guess, the potential of your business is only as big as you see potential for yourself. So that's why it's so important. And I'm glad that you mentioned coaching, because I'm someone who coaching is not necessarily something that I was ever introduced to prior to leaving my corporate job. I did hire a job coach when I was still at corporate, but that was a very different concept for me. And I think probably for some of our listeners, it could be a new concept. But since becoming an entrepreneur, like I realize now that it's essential. And not only is the accountability there, but it's also that the coaches, they hold the belief of your potential for you, right? They hold that space for you that you can't always see.
Yes, they hold that space for you while you grow, because there are times when you are not there yet. But your coach, as you rightly said, can see that potential. They can see in you what you are not yet able to see in yourself. And they hold that space for you. They hold that space for you by holding you accountable, by calling you out, and by helping you set goals, not only for your business, but for you. Because that is as important. And so many times we set goals for the business. We want to have this amount of revenue. We want to do this. We want to do that. We don't take the time to do the same things for ourselves. And that is where the coach can really help and guide you. So you're very, very right. That's such an important step. That's something all entrepreneurs should make sure that they have. When I came into this journey from corporate, I really thought it was going to be a lot simpler than it was. But I learned rather quickly that I needed to get a business coach who really had been there and done that, and specifically understood all the nuances of establishing a business online and what that really means and what that looks like. So it's not a journey to go on alone.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think a lot of us get into entrepreneurship who are sort of multi-passionate. We can do a lot of different things and wear a lot of different hats. And it can be a challenge to push ourselves towards, oh no, this is a team sport. And like my success is tied to what kind of support I have. And also, I think the idea of investing in yourself is so important, because you are your greatest investment. And that is what is a better place to put your money? Like you could put it in ads for Facebook, I guess, or, some other part of your business, but there's a finite amount of return on investment in that. But when you invest in yourself and growing yourself, I mean, that just unlocks so much possibilities. And the return on that is infinite, right? Like it keeps going. So
it is. Yes, it really is. And as much as you want to grow the business, when you make that connection on the investment in yourself, as you spoke to it just now, then you actually see the difference in your business. You start to see your business take off. And a lot of time when entrepreneurs make that step, they question, why didn't I connect these dots and see this before? Because there is a direct connection to that.
The other thing too is that it's not just about the business. It's about what's that other vision we have for our lives. We can make money in a business, but do we want to do that in a way that feels good, that feels energizing? Do we want freedom? And tapping into what is it that I really want my life to look like, which will include your business, but it's kind of like starting with the overall picture of what are my values, and then how can I create the business that aligns with that.
And that leads me right into share then with you and the listeners is that starts with your vision. You have a vision for your business, and you should have a vision for yourself. You need to then be able to look beyond the limiting beliefs. But the most important thing is having that belief in yourself, having that belief that you're worth it, having that belief that you can be all and that you can have it all, and that you are willing to do what is needed to get there. And it starts right there with that, the belief and the vision.
You help so many women do this, but can you share with us a few ways that we can tap into our full potential? We can sort of unlock some of those things that are within us that, maybe actually we aren't really identifying, but we know it's kind of underneath the surface. Can you share with us some ways to do that?
Yes. As entrepreneurs, what we look for is a solution. So every problem then teaches us and shows us how to look beyond, how to step outside of the comfort zone, how to stretch ourselves. And it is in that stretching, it's in that doing what is not comfortable. That is where our growth happens. But the other thing is that we have to make a decision, and our decision is in the trade-off. What is it that we really want, and what are we willing to trade for it? So when we want to look at ways that we can unlock our potential, are we prepared to make the sacrifice? Are we prepared to trade up the time to get what we want, or to make the investment as you spoke about earlier? When we want something, we have to determine what things of lesser value are we going to trade for things of a greater value. And if we're saying that the greatest value is all that we can possibly bring at the full version of ourselves to our business, because we understand that that's then going to take our business to the next level, are we prepared to make the trade-off? A lot of times, persons get stuck here because they say to themselves that they are not worth it. My question is it really worthy of you? Because once you have made a decision, you are then saying, you are affirming, you're saying yes to you. And that means that you have then made that decision that you are willing to make the trade, whether the trade is time, whether it is talent, whether it is treasure. You have decided that you are going to make that trade-off. Other things to pay attention to are your environment. Now, your environment doesn't only mean your physical environment, but who is speaking into you? Who are you listening to? Are they persons, like we spoke about earlier with the coach, who's going to hold you accountable? Who is really adding to you? Because as I mentioned earlier, we can't do it alone. We do this together. We're successful if we do it together. So who do you have in your environment? What is your environment like? Is it an environment that nurtures growth? Is it an environment that will stimulate growth? Is it an environment that will cause you to look at things from a different perspective and to be able to embrace that? These are some of the things that you really need to take on when you decide that you're going to go on this personal growth journey. And at times it can be uncomfortable, because facing your fears, facing your doubts, facing limiting beliefs that may be stories that you have held on to for ages, it's not an easy thing to just change that. You need to be aware all that is involved in that, because it's a whole process. And I think that for us, having the right environment, understanding what we are trading up, being really clear on that, and that link back to the vision. Because if you are clear on the vision, if you understand where you're going and why you're going, then when you are faced with what I have to give up, then you understand it. And when you meet the obstacles and the challenges, you are in a better mindset to manage and to deal with that.
Yeah, I love that. Thinking about what are you trading and what is the value of that trade, and thinking about getting your environment in order, your friendships or your relationships in order, so that you will be supported in stretching and getting outside of your comfort zone. Hey friends, we'll get back to the show in just a moment, but I wanted to take just a few seconds to invite you to a free workshop that I created. It's called Launch a Binge-Worthy Podcast, and it's all about helping you to create a heartfelt podcast that reaches your soul listeners and grows your business. If you want access, just go to podcastandamplify.com. It's totally free. Okay, friend, back to the show. Going back to what you were saying earlier about sort of consciously taking those steps, that intentionality towards starting to tap into your potential and having the right environment and understanding like what you're going to need and trade off potentially when you start going down this path. I also want to speak to creating safety when we're stretching ourselves, because doing this work, it's not for the faint of heart. And it's great when you have a coach to help you or support or a group. But there are things that can come up when you start to do this work. So I'm wondering if you have tips or guidance around how we can create safety for ourselves while we're pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone.
Well, that question is such a tricky question. And it's a tricky question because where there's growth, there's risk. Where you feel the most uncomfortable is when you are on the precipice of that growth. And when you are there, most of the time you are scared, you are uncertain, you are asking yourself, should I? Oh my goodness, what if? Maybe I shouldn't. And so at that point in time, your subconscious and your conscious minds are really having a little battle with themselves, because your subconscious, where your comfort zone is. This is where I have been all my life. This is what has kept me safe. This is what has kept me from harm. This has brought me here. Now, all of a sudden, this other part of my brain is saying, well, I want more. I want to do and have more. And to do that now, I have to do things differently. So now you have to have this conversation with your subconscious and say, well, say thank you for bringing me where you have brought me so far. But we really need to part ways at this moment, because I have to go on and feel the fear and do it anyway. Or as a mentor of mine says, jump and build your wings on the way down. Trusting in your unstoppable and unshakable belief in yourself. So safety, I am not sure persons will feel safe, but I think it is a worthwhile jump. And the way that you can create some safety around you is by paying attention to your environment, to the who you have, to the spaces you have, to what you are allowing in and what is creating the influence for you. To have call it an inner tribe or an inner circle. And that inner circle would include persons who love you, who understand your journey, who have your back. Those are the persons that you need. And you don't need to have a big circle. It can be just a circle of 5 persons, but persons that will be honest with you. Another one is practicing discipline and being consistent. That gives us the reassurance, because by doing it all the time and being consistent in the actions that you are taking, in the steps that you are taking, your mind is getting the message and it's being reframed and restructured, and you are really now embracing the personal growth journey. So being able to do that makes it, let's say, less challenged, because the discipline brings you that amount of you get better. So each time you take a step and you feel better. But like everything, consistency. If we are baking a cake, we want consistency. If not, it's not going to come out. It's the same thing for our personal growth journey and development. And my personal development and leadership coach was really adamant that we had to have a plan for a year. And the plan looked at every aspect of our life. So we didn't only look at the business. We looked at our personal growth. We looked at our spiritual. We looked at family. We looked at fun. We looked at relationship. We looked at our community, simply because you are the central. You are the one person that's connecting it all. You are the business. Even if you have a team, you're still the person directing and driving that business. So no, you are the person that will be in the family. You're the person in the relationship. So it's important that when you are looking at a plan, that you develop all aspects of your life.
I think the consistency is key, because that is a way to create safety. Because I think for a lot of people, stability looks like safety, or it feels like safety, right? So you're creating that stable, I know that I can count on myself doing this thing every day. And so that kind of creates a little bit of safety. I think what I was thinking about when I wrote this question was along the lines of that self-compassion, that self-love. And I'll tell you why, because I've been on this personal growth journey for several years now, and I would do things and I would push myself to grow because I really love personal growth and I like to stretch myself. At the same time, I found myself after each sort of big push and stretch, doing the thing, whether it was starting a podcast or launching a course, and then telling myself afterwards, yeah, you're fine. And not addressing the fact that I had just done something really big and I had just kind of gone through this growth period, and I wasn't taking care of myself after that growth or through that growth. So that's kind of what I was thinking of when I wrote the question. And I've since learned how to take care of myself and honor the struggle and honor the growth and be there for myself. That's something that I had to learn in my process. I can imagine that a lot of listeners might operate the same way, where they're just like, nope, you're good, power through.
I think that you're right. And I will share, that's why it is linked to the belief. That's why it is all about your self-esteem. And you're right, self-love is so important. I shared recently, when persons set a goal for themselves, they set this big goal that they want to achieve. And what they fail to do is to celebrate the little wins along the way. It is those little wins that you really need to celebrate. Why? Those little wins then say to your brain, oh, yes, I've done this, and all the happy hormones and everything are released. But that also gives you the momentum. Keep going. That also fuels the positive language that you use with yourself and takes you on and on and on to reach the goals. But I want to tap back just quickly to safety to say that one of the other tips is that you design a strategy. Because when you design a strategy for your growth, it allows you to build in the discipline and it allows you to build in the consistency. And it's also a framework. So it helps to provide some sort of safety, because then if something happens, as life will, if something happens, you have this plan, you have this strategy, and you can refer to it. And that gives you some peace of mind. And that is how you can also have safety on your personal growth journey.
I love the strategy because you can incorporate in that strategy ways for self-love, ways for compassion.
Self-love is so important, and self-love is not being selfish. It isn't. And I really want to knock that right out of the park and far, far away. It is not being selfish. When you are able to love yourself, when you feel confident, when you're able to say to yourself, I am, and put all of the positive words behind that, you are then able to bring that to others. It is really about us acknowledging our worth, acknowledging the beauty, acknowledging all of the good things that we have. And it has a tendency to sound a little bit cliche, but it really is such an important thing, because a lot of times we are critical of ourselves. So we tell ourselves things like, we should have done better. We should have known this. Why did we do that? Why did we allow this to happen? What we need to do is really flip that conversation and be telling ourselves, you did a good job. Looking in the mirror and saying, I love this person. I really and truthfully love her. And recently I did a series on self-love on Instagram. And that was one of the continuous thread with each guest that I had, looking at it from the mindset, looking at it from a place of gratitude, looking at it from a place of building resilience. All of these things then empower you, the individual, you, the entrepreneur, because you, the entrepreneur, are as good and as strong as you, the individual. The two cannot be separated.
If you're someone who is self-critical, if you're someone who's hard on yourself, which I think many of us are, there's so much pressure, especially on women, to be perfect or meet a certain standard. And so there's that layer of pressure. Then there's the other idea that, like you mentioned, prioritizing yourself is selfish, right? We're not really conditioned, or we don't always have permission to ask ourselves those questions or take a time out or a minute just to, reflect and take care of ourselves. It's kind of like go, go, go. And that's the expectation. So challenging those expectations and that way of thinking is kind of revolutionary.
You wouldn't think so today, with everything else that and all of the women that are in business, you wouldn't think so, but it really is. And we have not been encouraged to just pause and say, well, what have I done for myself today? What is something that I done for me today? Have I sat and enjoyed a nice cup of tea? I have time spent in my garden. We're focused now as entrepreneurs. We need to do this. We've got to be making the calls. We've got to be connected. We've got to be building the business. We've got to be doing the back end. And we are just all in that, not realizing that when we actually pause, I call it refueling, when reflecting, when we are able to stop and do those things, when we come, there is so much more. There's the joy, there's the ease, there's the absence of overwhelm. It just makes sense. But we have to get it. We have to see that importance of self-love and personal growth, because I know that we may wrap up soon, but personal growth is something that people really tend not to look at. People seldom create a plan for their personal growth. People plan and look at everything else and really miss this. And this is such a critical component for you being able to show up in the fullness of who you are for your business, for you, even if you're in corporate or you have a profession of your own. This is so important. Understanding who you are, valuing who you are and what value you can bring and give to others. Knowing your worth and being able to stand in that worth. Knowing that to love yourself and to look after yourself and to make time for that is as important as being at the board meeting, is as important as showing up online 4, 5, 6, how many ever days a week. It is just as important. And I might want to add that it is even more important, because when you are, let's say, comfortable in your own skin, when you can happily say, this is who I am and I really love her, you can just show up with such ease. You can show up with all of your feminine energy and power, and it's just going to be beautiful. It is simply going to be beautiful.
That is beautiful. That's a lovely way to wrap up this conversation and reminding us to plan our personal growth and giving us that permission to prioritize it. So thank you so much, Karen, for coming back on the show. It was an amazing conversation as always. And before we leave, I want to make sure that people know how they can get in touch with you. If you want to share that, that'd be great.
Certainly. Well, first, Kristen, thank you so much for having me back. I really enjoy our conversations, and I really trust that I'm able to share and add value to the listeners and that they are able to get as much as possible out of it. And to get in contact with me, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me also on Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram, I am my handle is my business, Beyond Limits Global Consultancy. I love having conversations, especially with women who are out there making a difference, impacting lives and influencing. So connect and let's chat. And of course, you can work with me one-on-one, or you can work with me in a group setting as well. So those are ways that you can get in contact with me. And if nothing else, after this conversation, value you. Be true to you. Take the time to discover all the beauty that is you. Take the time to love up yourself, to acknowledge and recognize all of great things that you do, the little things as well as the big things. Celebrate the wins. Don't just wait for the big one. Celebrate the little wins. Today, you were able to do one thing that was good or that you feel good about. Celebrate it. Celebrate you and make the time to have a personal growth plan.
Karen, talking to you feels like a warm hug. It really does.
Yes.
So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much as well for having me. Take care.
If you loved today's episode, please subscribe so you don't miss a show. And rating and reviewing this podcast is the best way to help support us. Always remember, your voice and what you have to offer is needed in the world. Until next week, take care.